Oh, hello guys. This is the second part of the review for the spring final, Algebra 1. If you guys look at number 10, it says here to simplify, and the expression is 64 with an exponent of 1/3. All you have to do on this question is use your calculator, and the way you put it in the calculator, you are going to use the symbol that is called the caret button. So you will see in your calculator the caret like this. Since the exponent is a fraction, 1/3, we're going to have to use parentheses here. And you can use the button of a fraction if you guys have a Casio calculator, but you guys have a different one. Just go ahead and divide 1 by 3. And that's the same thing as 1/3 in the calculator. So when you guys do that in your calculator, so after inputting that in the calculator, the answer is 4. So for number 11, you guys have the same type of question for number 10, but the exponent is a little bit different. You guys have a rational exponent. So notice the fraction is 2/3. This one here, same thing as the previous one. You use the calculator, so you're going to put 8. Your exponent is going to be a caret right here. And you will use the fraction 2 divided by 3 or 2/3. And when you guys do that in the calculator, it is, and the answer will be 4. So everything is just goes in the calculator. Make sure that you guys check what is the exponent, and then you guys have the answer. Number 12, it's different because you're solving. This is not just using the calculator right away, but when you guys solve and notice the exponent has the x, so here's the x value that we want to solve. That's solving. You want to get x by itself. So the bases, you can make them equal to each other. So I'm looking at the 27, that's the base, and this 81 is a base with an exponent of 1. So if you change those to have the same base, you can cancel the bases. So in other words, let's go ahead and find a number with an exponent that gives me 27, and at the same time a number with an exponent that gives me 81. So 27, that's going to be 3 cubed. 3 cubed will be 27. And on the other side, 81, that's going to be 3 to the 4th power. If you guys do that in the calculator, you guys will get 81, 3 to the 4th, and 27, 3 to the 3rd. But you guys have to bring this down next to the exponent that we got. So I'm just going to bring down the expression 3x plus 3, and on this side you guys can bring down the 1, and you're going to multiply the exponents. This one is not going to change anything because you're multiplying by 1, but the one over here you guys will have to distribute the 3, the one outside the parentheses. But first, let's look at the bases. You have a base of 3, base of 3. That's when you guys can get rid of the bases. And you bring down the exponents, 3 times the expression of 3x plus 3. And on the other side, you multiply 4 plus times 1, that's 4. So you just solve for x. You distribute the 3. So we're going to get 9x plus 9. On the other side, you get 4. Subtract 9. You have to get rid of this number. So subtract 9 from the other side. So that's going to be negative 5. 4 minus 9, that's negative 5. And then you guys divide by 9. And you get x by itself. So divide by 9, divide by 9. So that's negative 5/9. Alright, number 13. So let's move on over here. This one is going to a different concept. It's not exponents. You guys have polynomials. So the question is, you want to write the polynomial in standard form. Keep in mind that a polynomial is when you guys have the biggest exponent first. So I'm looking at the different exponents I have in the polynomial. I have an exponent of 3, a 6, here's an invisible 1, and there's the 5. So the highest exponent is 6. So this expression with the exponent of 6 has to go first, and then you descend. You go down from 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then if you guys have a constant, that's going to be the last term. So let's rewrite all this expression here. So we have negative 2, that's the first one, m to the 6. So the next one would be the 5, exponent of 5. So plus 6m to the 5, or exponent of 5. The next one should be 4, but if you notice the exponents, we don't have a 4. So that's okay. You just skip the 4 and you go down to the 3. So we do have a 3, and it is a positive, so you put plus 40m cubed, and then the 2, but I'm looking here, I don't have a squared, so I move on to the next one, and it's a 1. So I do have an exponent of 1. This has an invisible 1, so we have plus 4m. You guys don't need that 1 here. You can leave it as it is. If you guys have a constant, then you put the constant last. But the standard form, you guys have the biggest exponent first, and then you guys descend. And number 14, this one here, you guys do have polynomials, and we want to add. Notice in the middle, you guys have a plus sign. So you want to add those polynomials. You have a trinomial, that's the name of the polynomial. It has 3 terms, and you guys have a trinomial on this side. When you guys are adding polynomials, you just need to combine like terms, and you always start with the highest exponent, the highest degree. So in this trinomial, the highest exponent is a square. So I do have this negative 6p squared. So I'm looking at the other polynomial, and we do have a squared, which is negative 2p squared. Now you guys can read it as negative 6p squared plus negative 2p squared. So they have the same sign. You're going to add the numbers, and you keep the sign with the same exponent. So we have negative 8p squared. Since you're not multiplying, you do not add the exponents. You keep the same one. And this is when you add polynomials, just keep the same exponent. So the next exponent should be 1, because you guys descend. You guys go down 1. So the one that has a 1, I notice is a negative 2p to the first. And I do have a 5p to the first over here. And let me write down the exponent, invisible 1, invisible 1. So let me add this one, negative 2p and positive 5p. So negative 2p plus 5, you subtract the numbers because they have different signs, and you keep the sign of the biggest number. So it's going to be plus 3p. We do have another term with a different variable. 3q. Q is a different variable, so I'm going to start with the q, and I do have a negative 3q over here. So if you think about it, positive 3q minus 3q, that's going to be 0, so those cancel. So that means your answer will be negative 8p squared plus 3p. And number 15, same thing, but this one you are subtracting the polynomials. So you guys have a minus in between. Every time you guys are subtracting polynomials, the first step is to distribute the negative to the second polynomial. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to distribute this sign times the first term, the second term, and the third term. The first polynomial is going to stay the same. You're not going to change the signs. You're not going to multiply by any number. So I'm just going to bring down the terms. Negative 2a squared minus a. And I'm going to multiply the negatives. So negative times positive 2, that's negative 2a squared. Negative times negative, that's going to be positive 2b. And negative times positive, that's going to be negative 4b squared. After you guys distribute the negative, you combine like terms. So you always start with the highest exponent. And alphabetical order, a is before b. So I'm going to start with the a squared. There's a negative 2a squared. And there's a minus 2a squared. So they have the same sign. You're going to add the numbers and keep the sign. So that's going to be negative 4a squared. Then I go down to the b's. So the b with the highest exponent. Oh, sorry. Let me go back here. I didn't notice this one. The minus a. This one is next because it's the same variable we're using. And that's the only one that has an a. So I'm just going to bring down the minus a right here. So this one, you just bring it down. So the next one is the b. So we have negative 4b squared and I'm looking at the other terms, that's the only one with the b squared. So I don't add, I don't subtract, I just bring down the negative 4b squared to my answer. But we do have two terms with the b, 16b and the 2b. So you guys can combine those two terms, they're like terms. So 16 plus 2, that's going to be 18b. So my answer is negative 4a squared minus a minus 4b squared plus 18b. Number 16, you guys are multiplying the polynomials. So notice the one outside is a monomial. You're going to multiply by the one inside of the parentheses. Now here, guys, you do multiply the numbers, the 3 and the negative 4. So that's going to be negative 12. And when you multiply the variables, g cubed and a g squared, remember you're multiplying, you will add the exponents. So we're going to have g, you keep the same base, and you add 3 and 2. You're adding because you're multiplying the bases, so that's going to be 5. And then you guys move on to the next term. So we have positive 3 times negative 5, that's negative 15. And the base g cubed and g with an exponent of 1, remember that's an invisible 1. You're going to add the exponents because you're multiplying, 3 plus 1. And that's going to be 4. And then you move on to the next term. You have 3 g cubed times negative 2. So you multiply the numbers. 3 times negative 2, that's negative 6. And the 2 doesn't have a g, but this 3 has a g cubed. So you guys keep the g with the cube. So that's my answer when you distribute a monomial to a trinomial. You add the exponents when you multiply the same bases. 17, you have two binomials. So one method to multiply binomials is using the FOIL method. So the FOIL method, front, you multiply these two terms right here. So negative 6 times negative 3, that's positive 18. And t times t, that's t squared. And then you multiply the outer. So negative 6t times negative 2v, that's going to be positive. Negative 6 times negative 2 is positive 12. T times v is t and a v. You put it in alphabetical order, the variables. And then you multiply the inners. So the inner will be negative 5v and negative 3t. So negative 5 times negative 3, that's going to be positive 15. And v times t, you put it in alphabetical order, t with the v, tv. And the last, you multiply negative 5v times negative 2. V, that's going to be positive 10. V times v, that's a v squared. Remember that you always have to check if you have like terms when you use the FOIL method. And we do have like terms. The ones in the middle, they have a tv and a tv. So the answer will be 18t squared plus 27 tv plus 10v squared. So there's the answer. And this concludes our video for the second part of the final review. Wait for the new one tomorrow.